Welcome to immigrationquestion.com, your go-to resource for U.S. immigration insights. We provide clear immigration news and information. Our platform provides a network of licensed attorneys who can answer your questions and guide you through the process. From visas to green cards, asylums to citizenships, immigrationquestion.com helps you to network with immigration attorneys so that you can move forward with confidence. Sign up today or download the app. Free registration, limited time offer. Stay tuned. We go live in 30 seconds.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the special edition webinar hosted by immigrationquestion.com, a networking platform and meeting ground where immigrants, families, advocates, and licensed immigration attorneys come together to understand U.S. immigration policies and procedures better. My name is GB Satusa, and I'll be your host for this important discussion. What to do after receiving a notice to appear in immigration court. Receiving a notice to appear, also known as an NTA, can be quite stressful and confusing for individuals and families. It is a formal document that begins removal proceedings and requires the individual to appear before an immigration judge. Understanding what the notice means, what steps to take next, and how to prepare for court proceedings can significantly help how a case progresses. To help us break this down, we're honored to be joined by Natalie Driver Womack, Esquire, an experienced immigration attorney who represents individuals in removal proceedings and helps families navigate complex immigration court. Now, Attorney Driver Womack, thank you for joining us again today. We're thrilled to have you for this important discussion.
Thank you for having me.
Before we begin, a quick reminder to our audience, immigrationquestion.com is a public educational and networking platform. The information that's going to be shared today is for general informational purposes only and does not constitute individualized legal advice. If you are joining us on Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram, or any other platform, welcome. Please subscribe and share this session with anyone who may benefit from understanding what to do after receiving a notice to appear. Let's dive right in. Attorney Driver Womack, what is a notice to appear and what does it mean for someone's immigration status?
Okay, so I think your introduction again was spot on. An NTA stands for a notice to appear, and that's exactly what it's saying, a notice to appear before the judge. Now, this document is deemed a charging document, meaning that it is charging you with certain issues, right, with immigration. It is saying that you're in the country legally, that you have to be before an immigration judge. So that means that you would have to present yourself before an immigration judge, making sure that you're paying attention to if you get a notice to appear and what is in that notice to appear is very essential. And this means that your case is now in immigration court. So if you had applied before with USCIS, you're no longer with USCIS, your case is now in immigration court and it's in a different status now.
All right. Now, Attorney, what information should individuals look for when they receive an NTA?
I think that is a great question, because I think the first thing is when you get an NTA, you're panicked, you're worried, right? But I want you to understand that it is a serious situation, but the worst thing that you can do is panic and react the incorrect way, okay? The first thing that you should do is make sure that you're contacting an attorney. You'll have attorneys that you can contact. They'll do consultations for you. Immigration Question can put you in contact with attorneys. So it's a step-by-step process. But that first step, again, do not panic. Second step is consult with an attorney. Let them know, provide them with a copy of your NTA, let them know your immigration history, and then there you first start. In that NTA, it will tell you where your court should be. That's very important. It'll also tell you the time, the location. These are very important things that you need to pay attention to, as well as what the United States is alleging with regards to you. So you need to make sure that you have an attorney who's able to go through that document to make sure everything is accurate, factually and legally. So it's very important to handle that first.
Right. Now, I think you've touched on the first steps a bit, but what are the first steps that someone should take to prepare for immigration court proceedings?
Right. So I think that's again an excellent question. So I always I like to have conversations with individuals before an NTA hits or before you get that notice to appear. So it's two parts to this. So if I'm talking to you, you're undocumented, you are concerned, okay, then you need to make sure that you're taking down this number. It's 1-800-898-7180. Okay. This is the number to the immigration courts. What you're going to do, you're going to get someone on the line, and it's not a person, it's not traced, it's an automated call. What you do is then you wait for the prompts. They're going to ask you for your A number. Your A number will be your alien registration number. You put in your alien registration number, and that will tell you if you have any types of NTAs available. Again, this is you preemptively striking. Okay, this is before you get an NTA. If you can do that before, that's what you should do. Then the second step is you can make what is called a Freedom of Information Act request. And everyone is entitled to information that the government has about you. So what you do is you submit a FOIA request. If you don't know how, you contact an attorney and they will submit it for you. But you can also do that on your own. You have this information, so you have your own documents, and you know what's going on. Okay, now that's preemptively striking. Okay.
Yeah.
If now you have an NTA and now it's here, again, first thing, don't panic. Make sure you consult with an attorney, and you make sure that attorney is skilled in immigration court so that they know your circumstances and they know your situation. They want to make sure that they're looking at that NTA again to check the factual and the legal premises behind that NTA. Also, as you're going through your process, you also have to be active. When I have clients, I tell them, this is a partnership. We're going through this together. You keep me on my toes, I keep you on your toes. We work together because we're working together for you. So also, again, that 1-800 number, again, it's 1-800-898-7180. Keep that number. Always call the number. This will let you know if there's anything going on, any hearing dates. So you can always check for yourself, okay? If you notice immigration right now is exceptionally busy, right? So the attorneys, we're swamped, okay? So you want to make sure that you're also acting, you have an advocate, but you also act for yourself. And I think it's very important to have that number to check for yourself for your hearing dates. But your attorney will make sure that those dates that you are very aware of those. But I want to make sure that you're armed and ready. Then another thing that I think is important is throughout the process of being here, maybe you have documentation. You have documentation dealing with immigration court or USCIS. Gather that together even before you call the attorney, because having those papers, it's different than someone telling me their story versus me reading their story. Okay, because individuals can make legal assessments and judgments that are not true. They will feel as though that this is true. They will think that this is true, but these papers say something different. So those papers are essential. And again, I think it's very important. Whether or not you are undocumented without an NTA, if you have an NTA and you're not detained, or if you have an NTA and you are detained, you need to have a contact person, a person who is aware of your situation. They know your A number, and they also know your attorney's phone number. That is essential because that link between everyone is very important. So that would be my main advice.
All right. Now, what are the potential consequences of missing a court date, and how can individuals ensure they comply with court requirements?
Right. So consequences are heavy. Okay. So that's the reason why, like, I scream that number. I tell everyone that number, because literally, if you are not there for the master calendar hearing, they can actually handle the case and issue an order of removal. It will be an order of removal in absentia, meaning in your absence. Okay. And more than likely, of course, what will happen is the Department of Homeland Security will have to say, hey, in fact, this person was served. This is the last address that we have on the websites, what the individual has inputted for themselves via USCIS. We served them on this date. A letter was sent out and they had notice. but they are not here today. And if they can prove that, then they can move and they can now have an order of removal in absentia. And that order is out there. Okay. And that's when I think this is when you see the link. All right. So remember that 1-800 number that I was telling you to call? The 1-800 number, if an order of absentia had happened, right? If there was any issues, it would link to your A number when you call that 1-800 number. Okay. If you miss that court deadline and the court date of being in court, the court will issue an order of removal. Not only will they issue you an order of removal, it can eliminate some of your claims and your eligibility, because you can have a great case, right? You can have a great case, but missing that date is a problem. Okay. If in fact you did miss the deadline or you missed the date, there are other deadlines. So timing is everything. You can potentially do a motion to reopen, but you never want to be there if you do not have to, because again, it is hard to get a motion to remove because a motion to reopen, because the first thing is you have to meet one of the criteria for the motion to reopen. Okay. So everything is at the crux of making sure that everything is up to date with regards to the addresses that you're providing, making sure that you're aware of your notices and acting reasonably when you have those notices. And if the best scenario is if you do not have an NTA, call that number, make sure that you don't have an order of removal, and always keep that number and make sure you're updating your addresses on all of the various USCIS, EOIR, wherever you may have encountered the government. Make sure that those addresses are up to date.
Yeah. Now, what forms of relief from removal might be available to someone placed in immigration proceedings?
Okay. So again, with immigration, timing is everything. So depending on timing and depending on the issues that are present in your life, you could potentially have asylum. You could have withholding of removal or conventions against torture. Okay. So that is one option. Another option is that maybe you are married, and if you're married to a U.S. citizen, you could apply for the marriage-based green card. Another scenario is potentially if you've encountered any form of crime, if you've helped the government with regards to any form of criminal activity, you've been the victim of criminal activity, you could potentially qualify for a U or a T visa. Okay. If you are married, you have a significant other, or either you have family members, maybe that is a parent, and they are a U.S. citizen or a lawful permanent resident, and they have abused you emotionally, physically, or financially, you can potentially claim the Violence Against Women's Act. But don't let the women part make you think that it's only for women. It's not just for women. And another aspect or another potential is the cancellation of removal. And I think it would be important. That is a webinar that we did, I believe, last week. And that was dealing with the cancellation of removal. And it can outline all the various things that are there. If you've been in the US, you can show your presence and that you have good moral character and that you have an extraordinary circumstance, you can apply potentially for cancellation or removal. So there's various things that are available, but you're going to have to connect with your attorneys, have those conversations, and see what you can actually apply for and be eligible for.
Yeah. Now, how important is legal representation in immigration court, and what should individuals look for when choosing an attorney?
Right. So I think having legal representation is everything. Okay. So I am a lawyer, but if I'm dealing with a contract issue, I'm getting one of my friends who handles contract law. I'm not going to handle it myself. Even though I've been trained as an attorney, I'm still not going to handle it myself. If it's a criminal issue, I'm getting my friend to handle that's a criminal attorney, right? Like, it is so important because navigating the system of just courts in general can be somewhat quite daunting. And even for the practitioners right now, things are changing just like this, right? Like, we have to be constantly learning, constantly aware because things are changing. So making sure that you, one, have an attorney who is skilled at what they do, that is imperative. Another aspect is that they have a heart to do this and they have a heart to help you. Now, I know that potentially maybe some attorneys may take every single client that comes to them. That is not my world. Okay. I am going to take clients where I know that it's going to be a zen enough process. It's already stressful enough, right? But we need to make sure that our personalities match. We need to make sure that the case is right. We need to make sure that we can work together. All right. And that's important because you're basically in a relationship with your attorney, right? Because you need to make sure that this is happening. Your calls, your conversations are going to be significant, and you have to be able to trust them to open up. And that's another huge thing. Make sure that you are completely open with your attorney. That's essential. Another aspect is again, this platform is amazing because Immigration Question will make sure that the attorneys that you're connected with, that they are skilled in what they're doing. You also have to be advised that you have individuals who they're going to be in a profession, but maybe they don't care, maybe they're not good, but you have individuals who are working in a network, so you're going to have to bring out results, you're going to have to be good, you're going to have to be a good professional. So it's important to connect with someone who has been vetted. So I think that that's essential, but know that with immigration law, your attorneys do not have to be barred in certain states. They can practice federally. So that's very important. The only issue may come up if you have a writ of habeas corpus or a writ of mandamus, then the attorney may have to take some additional steps to get barred. But those are the main things. Make sure that person is skilled, they have a heart, and as well as that they are ready and willing and they're vetted by someone.
Yeah. Now, looking ahead, what practical advice would you give to individuals and families going through the immigration court process to increase their chances of getting relief?
So I think the biggest thing is making sure that you're honest with your attorney. Okay. Even I understand that some matters you hold close to the vest, right? Like you don't want to divulge this. But that's one of the reasons why you work to find a professional that you feel comfortable with. Because anything that you tell that professional, it is confidential. Okay. There's only certain rare exceptions that the confidentiality has to break. That's an example that's so crazy is the fact that if you're going to tell me that you're going to kill someone, now we got an issue. Okay. But the fact that cone of silence, right? That's heavy. So you have to know that that person is not going to break your confidence. And you also have to be honest with that individual because there's things that maybe you're holding back that could potentially be your relief, but you have to have those conversations. Another thing is that I think it's very important to have an individual who has your A number, has all contact information, and has copies of your immigration documents to potentially act when you cannot. Okay. So, individuals sometimes get detained and it seems as though, oh my goodness, why are they detaining them? But now you're detained. We have to figure out how to do this. Another thing that I think that is very important if you're a parent or if you're a caregiver of an individual or of a family member, you need to start making sure that if something happened to you, that there are procedures in place with regards to your family. Okay. Make sure that you have individuals who will take custody of your child if you don't make it there tomorrow, the next day at school, right? Like it's hard to think about, but it's important that you do. Okay. You also, what is essential it's important to have an individual's contact number that you have and you always have it and there's no issue. Those things are very, very important.
Thank you for those insights, attorney. Now, for everyone watching this discussion, it's not meant to, create fear, but to encourage preparation and understanding. Taking timely action, attending all scheduled hearings, and seeking proper guidance can play a vital role in the outcome of the case. If this is your first time watching or joining us, welcome. ImmigrationQuestion.com is a networking platform where users can ask immigration-related questions at no cost and engage with participating attorneys. We're also proud to share that ImmigrationQuestion.com is BBB accredited and ISO certified. This is reflecting our commitment to transparency, accountability, community education, and security. Now, Attorney Driver Womack, based on your experience handling immigration cases. How does immigrationquestion.com help immigrants and immigration attorneys like yourself?
Oh, they help tremendously, from simply connecting individuals who need assistance and individuals who can provide the assistance, right? So again, the person that I work with, she's amazing, Hyra. Like, she's able to have conversations with individuals, with being able to be sensitive to what they're going through, but also being able to somewhat triage who can best help them, right? So that is essential for an immigration attorney, because it's hard for me to go through my phone and kind of like, I'm answering every phone call, like, you can't do that because of this or that, right? Whereas maybe I tell her, can you ask them an additional question? And then it may unlock one thing. So that's the
Yes.
first thing. The next thing is that with immigration question, whenever I have a client, we start and I use this software. So what it also does is, like, it's important that the individual themselves is organized. Okay. So having your documents organized, what documents you have, is very important. But when we start connecting and I put you here with regards to the software, you will be able to organize your own documents and you will be able to see them, and so will I. So it makes doing and going through your case much easier. So again, that is really making sure that that individuals are connected, and not just connected, but effectively connected. So, I mean, I truly, I enjoy being with Immigration Question. I think it has streamlined a lot for me as a practitioner, and it has helped me help individuals without the fumbling. So it's nice.
Thank you so much, Attorney. Now, before we move into our live Q&A, let's tackle this important question. What is one common misconception that individuals have after receiving an NTA that you believe should be clarified early in the process?
Well, I think the first thing is, like, some people think that with an NTA, the NTA means that you're automatically deported or it's over. Okay. So it's not. Okay. The reality, and what I like to make sure my clients are aware of, it takes a while to go through this process. Okay. So while we're going through this process, your attorney should be getting you ready for all the various things while you're getting ready and getting your papers together. But you prepare for best case scenario, you prepare for middle case scenario, and worst case scenario, right? And I just think that individuals, the biggest misconception is, once they have an NTA, they feel as though that everything is done, it's over, and that is, in fact, it is not true. It is just, you just now have to buckle up and work hard.
If you're just joining us, we've been speaking with attorney Natalie Driver Womack on the topic what to do after receiving a notice to appear in immigration court. We are now heading into our live Q&A session. This is your opportunity to ask general questions and hear educational insight from a licensed immigration attorney. Please drop those questions in the chat or call us live at 516-703-3483, and we'll take as many as time permits. Right, our first question. How much time do I have to respond after I receive the NTA?
Very good question. You don't have to worry about time. They're going to tell you where to be and what time. Okay. And more than likely, it will say, there's some that will say WebEx, and that means that you can be virtual for your appearance, but most will say that you have to be in person. And then your attorney will either be in person or via WebEx. Most attorneys are on via WebEx, though.
Okay.
That's a good question. Now I'm going to try to plug my laptop in while we get the next one. Can you give me one second? Okay.
All right, we're good to go. The next question is, I received an NTA, but no court date is written. So what should I do?
Oh, call me. We need to talk, because there have been, and that may have been, you may have had that a while, because there was a time period where they were doing that, and they should not be doing and to be I think it's like TBA, to be announced. And that's not really constitutional because as of right now, you're kind of in your head worried, right? So definitely what you don't want to do is to sit there and not act. So definitely you need to contact the immigration attorney for sure.
All right. Let's have our next question. Can I still stay and work in the US after receiving a notice to appear?
Sorry. Yes, you can still stay in the US. You can stay sorry. You can stay in the US, but actually working may be somewhat of an issue because your authorization may expire. So it will be important to make sure that you double check that.
All right. Now, recent reports indicate that the US State Department has expanded social media vetting requirements for visa applicants, effective March 30th. Now, these measures may increase scrutiny during the visa application process and raise questions about how personal information is reviewed. Attorney Driver Womack, when individuals hear about expanded social media vetting, how should they act in compliance with these changes, and what steps can they take to ensure they present consistent, accurate information throughout the immigration process?
So I think that this is very similar to what happened with when you're dealing with being a public charge. I know individuals, they're always concerned about what if I had assistance in the past, will I be deemed public charge? Okay. They expanded that to say that they could now do it with the totality of the circumstances, meaning that they can look at everything. Now, the reason I bring that up is because the same thing is happening with the social media. They're saying that they can look at everything. Okay. Your attorney can make certain arguments to say, oh, you can't look at this, you can't do that. But at the end of the day, it is the government and they are doing it. So we want to be prepared for that aspect. So you have to be mindful that the life that you are living needs to coincide with the things that you're showing externally in your social media. So even one of the biggest things is, if I have someone who is doing a marriage-based case, they're doing a marriage-based case, but the last thing that they need is to have a social media app or an app that is a dating app, and you're still active, right? Then that's going to be counterintuitive. Now, with the social media and the vetting for all of the various visas, they will be looking. And here's the thing. They've opened it up to anything that is against U.S. ideals and just the thought process of being an American. You see how huge that is, right? It gives the immigration officer broad discretion. So you have to be mindful. You go through, and of course, I'm on social media. I'm like, oh, I'd like to like this, right? Watch what you're liking, okay? Because you need to watch what you're liking because they're watching what you're liking, okay? You may think it's simple to just like it and you're thinking it's simple, no biggie. You need to listen to that message before you like it, because at the end, it could be something that is completely contrary to something that you believe or something that you should be aligned with if you are now searching for immigration benefits. Okay. So that is the biggest thing. Be mindful of your social media. They will be looking and they will be vetting. The description is broad.
Thank you so much to everyone who joined us for the special edition webinar. And thank you, Attorney Driver Womack, for sharing your knowledge and practical guidance with us today.
Thank you. And Cuddle says thank you too.
Thank you. You can always visit immigrationquestion.com to ask immigration-related questions, stay informed about policy updates, and register for upcoming live sessions. If you missed any part of today's important discussion, the replay will be available soon on Spotify. Just search Borderless Talk by immigrationquestion.com. We look forward to seeing you on Saturday at our next live session. Until then, stay informed, stay prepared, and stay connected. Bye-bye.